The planet was quiet. It was a small Earth colony, far from the main galaxy. Trees stood tall, the sky was orange during sunset, and birds with bright feathers flew between the branches. It was peaceful. But something strange was about to happen. Jake was working near the edge of the forest. He was a repair engineer. His job was to fix machines and solar panels for the colony. He liked being alone. He liked the sound of wind, the smell of fresh leaves, and the calm silence of nature. But that day, something was different. As he checked a broken water pump, he heard a sound. It was soft, almost like a cry. At first, he thought it was just an animal. But then he heard it again. A long, soft, painful sound, like something or someone was hurt. Jake stood still. He looked around. The sound was coming from deeper inside the forest, where humans didn't usually go. He picked up his small flashlight and started walking. Maybe it's a wild animal, he whispered. Or maybe someone needs help. The trees grew closer together. The light faded. The air felt heavy. After a few minutes he saw it. A small creature, lying on the ground. It was like nothing he had seen before. The creature had silver fur that shined in the dark. Its eyes were large and glowing blue. It had long ears, soft paws, and a strange symbol glowing faintly on its head. One of its legs was bleeding. The creature looked scared. But when it saw Jake, it didn't run. It just made a low, sad sound. The same sound Jake had heard earlier. Jake slowly moved closer and sat on the ground. "Hey there," he said softly. "I'm not going to hurt you." The creature didn't move. Its breathing was fast and its body was shaking. Jake opened his small bag and took out a water bottle and a bandage. He poured a little water into his hand and held it out. To his surprise, the creature drank. Then, carefully, Jake cleaned the wound on its leg and wrapped it with the bandage. "There," he said. "That should help." The creature looked at him for a long moment. Then it made a soft sound again, this time not painful, but gentle. "Like a thank you," Jake smiled. "You need a name," he said. "I'll call you Spark." He picked up Spark gently and started walking back toward his cabin. That night, Jake gave Spark some food, soft fruit and water. The creature ate slowly, but didn't take its eyes off Jake. "You're not from here, are you?" Jake asked, watching the creature closely. Spark just blinked. Jake laughed. "Yeah, I didn't think so." Later, as Jake sat on his bed and looked out the window, something caught his eye. In the sky, far above the forest, were strange lights. Not stars, not satellites. They were moving too fast, too smoothly. 3 glowing orbs floating in formation. Jake frowned. "That's new," he said quietly. He turned to look at Spark. The creature was sleeping peacefully near the heater, but outside, in the shadows between the trees, something else was moving. Something tall, something silent, a shape watching the cabin, but Jake didn't see it. Not yet. Far above the planet, hidden behind clouds and satellites, a silent ship floated in orbit. It was not from Earth. The ship was large, shaped like a silver crescent, glowing softly with blue lines along its body. Inside, the air was cold and clean. The walls were smooth, the lights dim. The ship belonged to the royal house of Villari, a powerful alien empire known across the stars. And inside the ship, the princess was crying. Her name was Alara. She wore a long blue robe that shimmered like water. Her silver hair floated gently in the air. Her eyes, dark violet, stared at the small, empty bed in her royal chamber, the bed where her pet should have been. "Still no signal?" she asked, her voice calm but filled with worry. A tall guard with golden armor lowered his head. "We tracked its last location to a forest on the human colony planet below," he said. "After that, the signal vanished." Alara stood up slowly. Her face changed, no longer soft, but sharp. That creature is not just my pet, she said. It is Zuni, the last of the guardian beasts. If something happens to it, the royal line may be in danger. The guard's face turned pale. Your Highness, you believe it was targeted? I don't know yet, she said, turning to the window. Outside, Earth spun quietly in space. But I will find out. Prepare a scout ship. I'm going down. Meanwhile, back on the surface, Jake was drinking coffee and watching Spark, or Zuni, though he didn't know the name yet, nibble on an apple. He still couldn't figure out what the creature was. It acted like a pet, but its eyes seemed intelligent, curious, almost like it understood everything Jake said. Maybe you're just really smart, Jake said with a small laugh. Suddenly, a sharp beep came from his comms device. He picked it up. It was dead, just static. All frequencies blocked. What the? At the same time, outside his cabin, the forest went silent. No birds, no wind, no sound. Jake stepped to the window. He saw nothing at first. But then, far in the sky, something moved, a small ship, sleek, fast, and coming down. Jake stepped back. Okay, this just got weird. Zuni stood up too, its ears rising. It was alert, ready. Just minutes later, a ship touched the ground in the clearing outside the forest. Its surface folded open like petals of a flower. From inside, Princess Alara stepped out, surrounded by 2 armored guards. She looked around. This is where the signal ended, one guard said. Alara closed her eyes, then knelt down and placed her hand on the ground. Her fingers glowed faintly. He is close, she whispered. Zuni is still alive. She stood. Let's go. Jake had already hidden Zuni in a small compartment under the floor, just in case. He grabbed a tool gun and stood near the door, unsure of what was coming. Then, a knock. A calm, soft knock. He opened the door. And stood face to face with the most beautiful and most alien woman he had ever seen. She looked at him with calm, curious eyes. Are you the human who lives here? She asked. Jake blinked. Yeah, I am Alara, she said. I believe you have something that belongs to me. Jake's heart started to race. I don't know what you mean. She stepped closer, but didn't force her way in. You found a creature. Silver fur. Blue eyes, hurt. You helped it, did you not? Jake hesitated. He could lie. He could say no. But something in her voice felt honest. Yes, he finally said. It's safe. I didn't know it was yours. Alara smiled softly. You did. More than protect it. You saved something precious. Something ancient. Jake narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? Before she could answer, her guard's wrist device beeped loudly. Incoming ships, he said. 3 of them. Fast approach. No ID, Alara turned sharp. Someone followed us. Jake's eyes widened. And they're not friendly, are they? No, she said. They're here for Zuni. Jake looked back toward the floor, where the creature was hiding. Then we better move, now. The night was no longer quiet. Clouds covered the sky. The stars had disappeared. Somewhere in the dark forest, branches cracked under heavy feet. But Jake didn't know that yet. Inside his cabin, he was packing supplies into a small bag. Energy cells, light tools, food packs. Zuni sat quietly near the wall, ears twitching, eyes glowing faintly. Across from them, Princess Alara stood tall, her silver robe shining even in the dim light. We must leave before they find us, she said. Jake looked up. Who are they exactly? She turned her eyes to the window. Traitors. Hidden enemies from my own people. Someone wants Zuni dead. And now they know you helped him, Jake frowned. How did they track us so fast? Alara didn't answer. That silence said everything. There was a leak. Someone on her side was feeding information to the enemy, outside. The forest grew colder. A light mist rolled over the ground. And then, without sound, a strange shape floated above the trees, It was black and sharp, like a knife made of metal and shadow. Its body shifted silently through the mist, scanning the ground below. Inside the ship was not a person. It was something else. Something old. Its face was hidden behind a glass mask, wires wrapped around its neck, and its voice was a mechanical whisper. Target located. Life signatures detected. Move in. Below, several dark figures slipped through the forest, not walking, but gliding. Jake felt something, a pressure in the air, a deep feeling in his bones, like something terrible was getting closer. Zuni stood up fast, growling. The lights in the cabin flickered, then went out. Everything went dark. Jake grabbed a flashlight, but it refused to turn on. Even Alara looked uneasy. They're here, she whispered. Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the silence. Wall to the right exploded inward, throwing dust and wood across the room. From the smoke, a tall figure stepped in, black armor, a glowing red visor. No face. Jake raised his tool gun, but the figure was too fast. In a blur, it knocked the weapon from Jake's hand and grabbed his arm. Before Jake could react, Zuni leapt into the air, glowing with bright blue light. It slammed into the attacker's chest, sending him crashing into the wall. Another figure entered, this one with a long metal staff. It raised the weapon, and Alara stopped it with a single move. She raised her hand, and a wave of light blasted from her palm, knocking the attacker backward into the trees. Jake grabbed Zuni, who had landed beside him, and shouted, "We need to run." Alara nodded. "There's a cave system nearby. I mapped it earlier." Together, they ran into the forest. Behind them, the attackers gathered. The leader, hidden in black armor, watched them disappear into the trees. "They are protecting the creature," it said. "Good, let them run." Its red eyes flickered. "We will follow." Deep in the forest, the trio stopped to catch their breath. Jake wiped sweat from his face. "Okay, what the hell was that?" Alara looked serious. "They are known as the Veilburn, exiles from my world. Half machine, half organic. They serve no king, only power." Jake shook his head. "Why do they want Zuni so badly? He's just a pet." Alara looked at Zuni, who was watching the trees. Quietly, "He's not just a pet," she said. "He's the key to something very old, something royal." Jake raised an eyebrow. "You're going to have to explain that soon." "I will," Alara said. "But first, we need to hide." As they moved toward the hidden cave system, Zuni suddenly stopped. His ears twitched. His fur glowed brighter. "What is it?" Jake asked. Zuni growled softly, then turned his head toward a nearby hill. There, glowing faintly in the moonlight, was an ancient stone gate, covered in alien writing. Alara's eyes widened. "That shouldn't be here. This place is lost." Jake stared at the markings. "What is it?" Alara stepped forward slowly. "A memory, a warning, a door to the past." The gate hummed softly. Zuni stepped forward, touched it with his paw, and the stone gate opened. Inside, a tunnel of light waited, glowing softly like stars trapped underground. Jake looked at Alara. She nodded once. "Let's find out what secrets your forest has been hiding." Together, they stepped through the gate. Behind them, the forest fell silent again. But high above, the Veilburn leader whispered through the dark, "Let them open it. We have waited long enough." Long ago, before humans ever reached the stars, there was a species known across galaxies, the Velari Guardians. They were noble, powerful, and deeply loyal to their royal bloodline. But when war came, the Guardians vanished. Or so the galaxy believed. Until now. Jake stepped carefully through the glowing tunnel. The walls were smooth and warm, lit by soft blue lines that moved like flowing water. Ancient symbols covered every surface, gently pulsing as if alive. The air smelled like old metal and light rain. Zuni walked ahead, calm but focused, as if he remembered this place. Princess Alara walked beside Jake, silent, her eyes scanning the symbols on the walls. "This isn't just a cave," Jake whispered. "Is it?" Alara shook her head. "No, this is a vault, a memory vault. The kind used by our ancestors." Jake looked at her. "Memory of what?" Alara paused. "The truth." Deeper inside, the tunnel opened into a large chamber. In the center stood a tall stone pillar. Around it were carvings, strange creatures, stars, battles, and symbols that looked just like the one on Zuni's forehead. Zuni walked to the pillar and placed his paw on it. Suddenly, light filled the room. A hologram appeared above the pillar. Tall and ancient, it showed a large creature like Zuni, but older and stronger, standing beside a Valari king. A deep voice began to speak. It echoed in the chamber like it had waited for thousands of years. "To the royal blood. If you are hearing this, then one guardian lives." Jake's eyes widened. Alara stood completely still. The guardians were not pets. They were protectors, bound by oath and blood. When the war ended, many were hunted. We hid the last egg, hoping one day the right heir would awaken its bond. The hologram faded. Jake looked at Zuni, stunned. "You're not just some alien animal." Alara stepped forward slowly. "He's one of the last royal guardians, and he chose you." Jake blinked. "Me? I'm not a king. I fix water pumps." Alara smiled softly. "That's why he chose you." Outside, far above the hidden chamber, the forest shifted. The veil burned. Leader stood in silence, listening to an ancient signal echo through the trees. "They found the vault," he whispered. "Good," a soldier beside him asked. "Should we strike?" "No," the leader replied. "Let them remember. Let them unlock the truth." His red eyes narrowed. "Because once they do, it belongs to me." Back inside the chamber, Jake sat on a stone ledge, trying to process everything. "I don't get it," he said. "Why did Zuni come to me? Why didn't he just go to you, Alara? You're royalty." Alara looked at Zuni, then at Jake. "Guardians don't follow blood. They follow spirit, kindness, loyalty, courage." Jake looked away. "I'm no hero." Zuni walked over and sat beside him. Alara smiled. "He thinks you are." Just then, a sudden gust of cold air hit the chamber. The lights flickered. Zuni stood up fast. Ears raised, body tensed out from the shadows of the far tunnel. A slow clapping sound echoed. Jake turned sharply. "Someone's here." A tall figure stepped out wearing dark silver armor, his face half covered by a royal Valari mask. But his eyes were full of poison. Double quotes. "Hello, cousin," Alara said coldly. The man gave a mocking bow. "Still playing with old pets, I see." Jake stood up. "Who is this?" Alara didn't take her eyes off him. "Prince Kale, my father's brother's son, and a traitor." Kale smiled. "Careful with words, dear princess. Soon I will be king." He looked at Zuni. "Once that creature is mine." Jake stepped in front of Zuni. "You're not getting him." Kale's eyes narrowed. "You think a human can stop me?" "No," Alara said. "But we can." She raised her hand, and her palm glowed bright. Kale laughed, then turned to leave. "No need to fight," he said. "The game has just begun, but when the Guardian bonds fully, I'll be waiting." And with that, he vanished into the shadows. Jake stood frozen. "So that's the guy trying to kill Zuni?" Alara nodded. "And he won't stop. Not until the Guardian bond is broken. Or complete." Jake looked down at Zuni, who looked back at him, calm and brave. "What happens when the bond completes?" he asked. Alara looked toward the pillar. "You'll become more than human." Jake raised an eyebrow. "That sounds both cool and terrifying." She smiled. "You'll get used to it." As the chamber grew quiet again, Zuni lay beside Jake, resting peacefully. The storm outside was coming. but deep in the heart of the forest, a forgotten power had awakened Dot, and it had chosen its guardian. The distress signal was fake. A soft beep echoed through the dark tunnel as a small blinking device activated near the entrance to the vault. A holographic screen floated above it, showing a strange message. Human technician requesting emergency help. Coordinates locked. Jake stared at it. That's one of our colony signals. From my own people. Princess Alara looked at the signal carefully. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp. It's bait. Jake stepped back. Are you sure? That frequency is old, real. Alara nodded. Exactly, too old. No one uses that channel anymore. Whoever sent it knows Earth tech. Jake's jaw tightened. Then someone on my colony helped them? Zuni growled low. His ears flattened. He sensed something. Something close. Suddenly the tunnel lights flickered, then went out. Total darkness to the above ground. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. A group of veil-burned soldiers crouched in the tall grass, surrounding the entrance to the vault. They did not speak. Their armor shimmered like smoke, and their weapons were shaped like bone. Behind them stood Prince Kale, his black cape moving in the cold wind. Everything is ready, he whispered. As soon as they exit, end the Guardian. Inside, Jake turned on a small wrist light. We need to leave, he said. They want us to come out, into their trap. Alara nodded. Then we do something unexpected. She moved toward the wall, pressing her fingers into a carved panel. With a soft click, part of the wall slid open, revealing a second tunnel, narrow and dusty. Jake stared at it. That wasn't on the map. It was never meant to be, Alara said. This was a royal escape path, used only in the darkest times. Jake nodded. Well, it doesn't get darker than this. Zuni stepped in first, without fear. The tunnel twisted downward into the earth. It was tight, and the air smelled like metal and dust. Jake whispered. So what's the plan? Hide forever? Alara replied. No. We find the Echo Tower. If we reach it, I can send a true signal to my people. One they will recognize. One Kale cannot block. Jake looked back, and until then, she answered simply, survive. But above them, Kale was already one step ahead. One of his scouts reported, they're not coming out. They found the escape tunnel. Kale smiled coldly. Good. He held up a small orb, dark and pulsing red. It floated in the air, then shot downward, burrowing into the ground like a bullet. Let them run, he said. Let them hope. Miles away, in the hidden tunnel, Jake felt a sudden vibration under his feet. The walls trembled. What now? He said. Zuni turned and growled. From behind them, a distant mechanical sound, whirring, spinning. A red light flickered in the tunnel behind them. Jake grabbed Alara's arm. Run, now. They sprinted down the tunnel. Behind them, the red orb was chasing, flying low, spinning fast, cutting through stone and dust like fire. Zuni jumped over a ledge. Jake slid under a fallen beam. Alara leapt across a broken bridge. The orb kept coming, faster, closer. Then Zuni stopped. He turned to face the orb, his fur glowing bright blue. Zuni, no! Jake shouted, but Zuni's body lit up like a sunburst, releasing a wave of energy that slammed into the orb, sending it crashing into the wall. Explosion. The tunnel shook violently. Rocks fell. Dust filled the air. Jake and Alara coughed, covering their faces. Zuni was still standing, but barely. He was hurt. Again. Jake ran to him, cradling the small creature. You didn't have to do that. Zuni looked up weakly and licked Jake's hand. Alara placed a hand on Zuni's head. Her voice trembled. He's forming the final bond with you. Jake looked at her. What does that mean? It means, she whispered, your mind and his We'll soon become one. Jake didn't respond. He just held Zuni tighter. They reached the end of the tunnel and stepped out into a hidden valley. In the distance, a tall structure stood, old but glowing faintly. The Echo Tower, Alara said. Jake looked up. Think we can reach it before Kale catches up? We have to. But as they took their first step forward, a voice echoed from the trees. Going somewhere? Kale stepped out from behind a rock, smiling. Behind him were 2 Earth Colony soldiers. Jake froze. What are they doing with you? Kale grinned. Your people are easier to buy than you think. Not everyone on Earth dreams of peace. He raised his hand, weapons charged. Alara stepped in front of Jake and Zuni. Kale smirked. Surrender the Guardian, or die. Blood remembers, even when the mind forgets. Even across stars time. And species. Jake wasn't thinking anymore. He just moved. When Kale fired his plasma weapon, Jake dove forward, grabbed Zuni, and rolled behind a stone wall. Blasts hit the ground near him, burning craters into the dirt. Alara fired back with her light staff, but she was outnumbered. 2 Earth soldiers, traitors, had joined Kale's side. They wore colony armor, but their eyes looked cold. Paid. Bought, and silent. Jake's heart pounded. His thoughts raced. I'm just a technician. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be fighting aliens with light weapons. But then he looked at Zuni, weak, hurt, still trying to protect him, and something inside him changed. Across the field, Kale stepped forward calmly. You don't understand what you're holding, he said. That creature is not your friend. It's not a pet. It's a key. Jake shouted back. A key to what? Kale smiled darkly. To the throne. To the mind of the Guardians. And you, human, you're the lock. Jake blinked. What? Alara's voice cut in. He's lying, twisting truth. But Kale kept speaking. Why do you think Zuni chose you? Why not me? Or her? Because something in your blood calls to him. Jake looked confused. My blood? Alara's face went pale. No, it can't be. Kale laughed. You didn't know, did you, cousin? The humans didn't just settle this colony planet. They were given it, long ago, in secret, as part of a peace deal between Velari rebels and a hidden human bloodline. He pointed at Jake. His ancestors were part Velari. Jake shook his head. That's impossible. I'm just Jake Rillen, Kale said, finishing his sentence. Son of colonists. Grandson of Captain Mira Velen, a traitor from my people who ran away and hid her bloodline on Earth. Jake stood frozen. I have no powers, he said. I can't even fix my own roof. Alara stepped beside him. Her voice was soft. But Zuni didn't choose your hands, Jake. He chose your heart. Suddenly, Zuni stirred. A glow returned to his fur. He looked at Jake. And something passed between them. A connection deeper than thought. A silent message of trust, pain, loyalty. And history. Jake felt a spark inside his chest. Warm. Alive, ancient. He gasped. What's happening? Alura's eyes widened. The final bond is forming, Kale snarled. No, stop it. He fired a blast straight at Jake, but Zuni leapt between them, his body glowing white-hot now. And the blast bounced off him like light on glass. Zuni turned toward Jake, and for the first time, spoke. Not with words, but through him. Jake's mouth opened, but the voice that came out was not fully his. It was deeper, stronger, echoed with power. The Guardian accepts. The bond is complete. A wave of energy shot out from Jake and Zuni, not violent, but pure. It knocked Kale and the others back like leaves in a storm. The Earth soldiers dropped their weapons and ran. Kale struggled to stand, coughing, his armor sparking. Jake looked down at his hands. Something had changed. His skin shimmered slightly. His breath felt lighter. His heartbeat was steady, strong, in sync with Zuni's glowing body. Alara smiled. You're no longer just human. Jake took a slow step forward. So now what? She looked toward the horizon. Now we take back the throne. Kale stood, blood on his lip. This isn't over, he hissed. You don't know what's coming. Jake raised an eyebrow. Try me. Kale stepped back into the mist, disappearing like a shadow. I won't need to kill you, not when they arrive. Alara stiffened. What does he mean? Kale's voice echoed from the dark. You've awakened the Guardian. Now the others will come looking for him. Jake turned to Alara. Others? She looked at Zuni, then back at Jake. There were more, she said. Other Guardians, lost, sleeping, waiting for a bond. Jake swallowed. And now that I've bonded? Alara nodded. They'll feel it. He looked down at Zuni, who now glowed with a steady light, no longer just a small creature, but something far greater. Jake took a breath. So I'm not just a repair guy anymore, am I? No, she said. You're a Guardian now. Far away, across the galaxy, in deep stasis chambers buried on forgotten moons, other creatures like Zuni opened their eyes, one by one. They awoke. And their first thought was simple. The bond has returned. Find him, protect him, or destroy him. Legends don't begin in palaces. They begin in silence, in lonely forests, in forgotten cabins, where someone chooses to help even when no one is watching. Jake Rillen was just a man, a repair tech, a quiet guy with dirt on his boots and tools in his hands. But today, he stood on a royal battlefield. Not alone. Beside him stood Zuni, the last awakened Guardian, now tall as a lion, with silver armor over glowing fur, and eyes full of ancient light. On his other side, Princess Alara, warrior of the Valari bloodline, leader of the Lost. Above them, the sky had changed. Dark ships circled like vultures. The others had arrived. Awakened Guardians, dozens, no longer peaceful, no longer sleeping. Kale had called them. And they had come, not to protect, but to test. The ground trembled as the first of them landed. A red Guardian, larger than Zuni, touched down with a heavy thud. Its eyes scanned Jake and growled. Behind it, more creatures appeared, black, gold, and white, all once like Zuni, but now changed by time and anger. Alara whispered, They don't know who you are. Not yet. Jake swallowed. Then I guess I better show them. Zuni stepped forward. Jake placed a hand on his back. The connection between them pulsed like a heartbeat. And for the first time, Jake didn't feel afraid. Kale's voice echoed from a floating platform high above. Look at him. A human pretending to be royal. You think a Guardian bond makes you powerful? It makes you a target. Jake looked up at him. No, he said calmly. It makes me responsible. Then he turned to the awakened Guardians, raised his voice, and stepped into open ground. I didn't ask for this. I didn't know what Zuni was when I found him. I only saw something hurt. And I helped. He looked at each of them. That's what Guardians used to protect. Kindness, life, honor. If you've forgotten that, then I'm not your enemy. You are. The crowd of creatures growled. But they didn't attack. Not yet. Suddenly, Kale fired a plasma cannon toward the valley floor. It struck a nearby ridge, causing a rockslide. The ground cracked. Several Guardians lost balance. Chaos. Jake leapt forward with Zuni and shielded one of the smaller creatures from falling debris. When the dust cleared, that Guardian looked at him. And nodded. Alara smiled. They're starting to remember, Kale growled. Enough. He jumped down from his platform, armor glowing with stolen energy, blade drawn. Let's finish this, cousin. Jake stepped forward. You want me? Come get me. Kale attacked fast, but Jake, now fully linked with Zuni, moved faster. His arms lit up with Guardian energy, forming a shield of blue light. He blocked the blade and countered with a punch that sent Kale sliding across the dirt. The other Guardians circled, watching. This was more than a fight. This was a test of who would lead. Kale screamed, charged again, but Jake dodged, spun, and with one final push, knocked Kale's weapon into the air. Zuni roared. Jake caught the blade and pointed it at Kale. End it, Kale hissed. Jake stared at him, then dropped the weapon. No, he said. That's not what heroes do. The Guardians all bowed their heads, not to a prince, but to a human, a man who chose mercy over power. The bond was complete, not just with Zuni, but with the entire Guardian legacy. Later, on the high tower of the Valari capital ship, Jake stood beside Alara. Zuni rested beside him, calm and proud. You could stay, Alara said. The Throne Council will listen to you now. Jake looked out at the stars. I don't need a crown, he said. I just want to make sure no one else suffers. She smiled. Then you're already more royal than most kings. Before he left, the Guardians offered Jake a mark, not on his skin, but on his spirit. A permanent link. He was now one of them. The first human Guardian. Back on Earth Colony, weeks later, children told stories of a silver creature in the sky. A man riding beside it, glowing like a star. They didn't know his name, but they knew what he did. He helped a creature without asking for anything. And in doing so, he changed the fate of two worlds.